I don't think that one has a privilege because one is white.
A Mount Royal University professor, the center of scrutiny, from finding the so-called good in the residential school system to online claims of harassment aimed at Black, Indigenous, and people of color. There's now a petition to have Frances Widdowson fired.
This professor had done an interview with the Western Standard. She had said things like, residential schools were basically a learning opportunity.
In the article, Widdowson says the residential school system allowed Indigenous children an education they wouldn't have otherwise received.
There were terrible problems. It's not to say the residential schools were a great thing or anything. I'm just arguing against the claim about genocide.
But it's not just the article that has students calling for her firing online.
When you look at someone's Twitter and they're speaking about Islamophobic things, or they're tweeting about residential schools, and they're tweeting about students who are creating this movement within the university and kind of mocking them very blatantly. What do you do? Because it goes beyond academic freedom.
But Widdowson says she only took to Twitter in a satirical form of herself to fend off the mob that is out to get her.
What happens is if you have any disagreement whatsoever with this ideology of wokeism, then you are targeted and there are attempts to get you fired. I'm opposed to this ideology, which is rooted in what's called critical race theory, which insists on seeing everything in terms of some kind of structural white supremacy.
Following the Black Lives Matter protests, MRU came out in support of the movement, promising to make changes to make this a campus that's welcoming for all. We asked them for comment on Widdowson and the claims made against her. In a statement, the president and vice chancellor writes, "When views are expressed by a member of the MRU community, it does not mean the institution shares these views. Within the bounds of Canadian law, people have the basic right to freely express their ideas. Equally valid are obligations that all employees have to cultivate an equitable, diverse, and inclusive environment free from discrimination, harassment, and violence. We are reviewing the concerns in light of our strong commitment to academic freedom and freedom of expression and our established expectations of the behavior of all members of the MRU community." Javid says the university needs to keep its commitment to creating an inclusive space.
How can these universities talk about decolonization and indigenization as well as, standing up for Black Lives Matter when, at the same time they're allowing these professors to still, be employed?
Whereas Widdowson believes the university should stay out of politics and keep campus a place for discussion. In Calgary, Tara Overholt, City News.